So you could be coming to, often we come to the Dharma, you know, this practice, or the mindfulness practice, because we're suffering, because we really are, you know, don't know what to do, or our life is really difficult, we may have pain, or we may have just be suffering from confusion, finding out who am I? And this I've always seen as a parallel to me in coming to the Dharma and also my LGBTQ life in terms of finding my identity. Who am I? How do I want to live in this world? Often in our earlier life that meant maybe the world that I was born into is not the world that I feel comfortable in. And that's not just for LGBTQ people. I mean, there can be all sorts of reasons why that would be true. And so one goes through this process of in a way, discovery around who am I? Who am I really? And what really matters to me? So that when I met Lama Shenpen and her teachings, she used this word longing to describe meditation. So that often you think, okay, I'm going to meditate, right, I'm going to, you know, I've got to practice, I'm going to focus on my breath, I'm going to be still, you know, and you go through a lot of process to actually be able to sit still and practice. And I was, you know, many years of doing this, and not always doing it well, or struggling with pain, struggling with emotional pain mainly, and agitation. And when I heard this, she said, meditation is about connecting to a longing in my heart. I just went, oh my God, right, that is like, that makes sense to me. And how would that relate to meditation? Is that I'm here with all my thoughts and all my feelings, something doesn't feel right because I'm agitated, I'm, you know, I can't sit for more than 10 minutes when my knees going mad, or, you know, this is not comfortable. You could say, oh yeah, meditation is just about the simplest thing in the world, sitting here. I'm not doing anything, what's so hard about that? But actually, as we all know, I'm sure here we all know, it's like, it's very hard. Once you sit, once you settle, and then it's sort of all this stuff starts sort of churning around. And in a way, an instruction to focus on your breath. Okay, I'm going to focus on my breath now. No. That, for me, creates tension in itself. I'm sort of going, and where I'm going beyond the things that I wanted to start saying. But anyway, it'll all come together. So, when I heard that phrase, meditation is about connecting to a longing in our heart. Because we're all here because we want things to be a bit better. It really, it really struck me. And so that's partly where this phrase, what, the heart of what matters, it's like, that's what it's about. It's how do we create meaning as well? There's this sort of sense of that matter is around meaning. I meant to actually look it up because it's a funny word, isn't it? I meant to look it up yesterday and I forgot. Because it has that sense of matter. You know, the chair is made of matter. I am sort of made of matter, but I'm not only made of matter. if that makes any sense. So maybe I'm experiencing me in here and the world out there as being this sort of difficult, rather dead place. You know, like the universe is just full of rock, you could say, just rock running, spinning in space. And that's part of our tradition in the West, is to see in a scientific way of looking at the world, it's full of matter, and we can manipulate that matter. But then you get to this sense of separation between me and what's going on out there. And is that world out there meaningful? Does that world out there think I matter? Or does that world out there not care about me? And that's a really, to me, that's a very important consideration. And the teachings from Lam Shenpen and the Awakening Heart Sangha, and this sort of more, maybe coming from the Tibetan Mahayana teachings, is that the universe does care. And that's quite a big thing to say. The universe is compassionate. And it's like, oh, could that possibly be true? Isn't it just brutal, you know, that phrase, brutal, harsh, I don't know, I can't remember what it was, one of those, but you know, it's basically, we're animals and we live, we die, that's it. So how do we make meaning out of our world? So I won't say too much more about that just now, but hopefully it's all going to just emerge as a sort of way as we practice. And what I thought I'd like to do to begin with is to go for refuge. Now this is a practice in all Buddhist, because I know that there'll be people who are not Buddhist. You know, you wouldn't say, oh, I'm a Buddhist. No, yeah. You're here, I think most people who come to our LGBT group wouldn't say I'm Buddhist, and it's not a Buddhist group. So this is a sort of little chance for me to be Buddhist in this context. And so that is one of the definitions in a way of a Buddhist, is that you've taken refuge in the Buddha and the Dharma and the Sangha. So these are very traditional, the three jewels they're called. So I thought I'll introduce you to what's called the Mahayana refuge prayer. So at the beginning of any event, any meeting, any meditation, we say this prayer. And I'll say it 3 times, and then we can go through. And we'll sort of have a meditation, a led meditation around what this could possibly mean. So we're beginning, as it were, coming into the space of practice now. So the prayer goes, I go for refuge to all the Buddhas so that all sentient beings may realize Buddhahood. We go for refuge to all the Buddhas so that all sentient beings may realize Buddhahood. We go for refuge to all the Buddhas so that all sentient beings may realize Buddhahood. So that may sound very strange. Who are all the Buddhas? Isn't there one Buddha? And we know who he was, this historical Buddha. And so that in this tradition, they opened that out completely and said there were infinite number of Buddhas. Infinite. They just are infinite. They fill the whole of space. And what could that mean? And I'm not saying I know what any of this means. I'm just saying what my experience of it is and my intuitions. So my intuition of that is that anything, we are all Buddhas, and anything out there can be a Buddha. So what I'd like you, maybe just you'll sort of intersperse this with some silence and some time to just reflect. And the first thing I'd like you to reflect is, if you were thinking, what do I want to take refuge? So we're starting a day of practice. And one of the things that I like about this this taking refuge and opening up is it's not just me who's going to be practicing, we're sharing the practice together, but also what in the universe is going to help me? What do I take refuge in? What acts as a Buddha in my life? And I realise you might say nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. And it may be the smallest thing, like my cup of tea in the morning. I really take refuge, which I really do, take refuge in my cup of tea in the morning. But it's what do I connect to? And obviously we might connect to people in our lives that are important. I take refuge in the people in my life that are close. But that's not always easy. Maybe people we remember that really helped us at some crucial point in our lives. That caused a change so that we could feel that we were moving into being able to be more who I am. Could be a community. Whoever one feels is my community that was there to help me or makes me feel not isolated in my life. That word again, what matters to me? What do I take refuge in? What do I rely on? What really matters to me? It can be anything. And again, really having a real gentleness and tenderness towards ourselves when any of this inquiry comes up, because it can feel quite raw. And like I don't feel I can rely on anything. And it may be our practice. Obviously we've joined together today to practice together in this Bodhi tree, Buddhist context, and I'm going to teach from that context. How is that a refuge? How does that help me? It may just be that we're together, that I know there's other people who want to practice like this. So in a way, we are practicing, we're meditating at this moment, and maybe that is this touching in to the longing in our heart. Even right now, is this space the right space for me? And the second part of that prayer was, I go for refuge to all the Buddhas, whatever I'm going to refuge, so that all sentient beings may realize Buddhism. So I'm immediately connecting myself, but I'm not completely isolated. I'm making these connections to other people all the time, in whatever way I can, again with real tenderness, so when we cannot make those connections. And what Buddhahood, the word Buddha means to awaken. So how would I like other people to awaken? How would I like myself? How do I want? What awake makes me wake up? How do I want other people? So we'll look at this in much more detail as the day goes on. So maybe you can stop the recording now and